Hi everyone, Aaron here with Acorn Farms Woodworking. Today I want to talk to you about two projects that I recently did. This is my son's room, soon to be two of my son's rooms, as we're having to shift some things around. And so we're transforming this from one room into two. And one of the first projects that I was able to do for this room is to install these floating shelves. So these are not beams, they're made to look like beams, but they are floating. I used a French cleat system, and they are 4 inches here and then 6 inches off the wall. And they get this really cool look. This is actually pine, but I owe all of this video to the video, and I'll link it down below, from Matthew Peach. Matthew Peach has a series on this distressing technique that you see on these shelves that I thought was super cool. I enjoyed it so much, my wife enjoyed it so much, that we decided to duplicate it or replicate it here in our own home. And so you are seeing the finished product now, but let me take you back and show you how to do this from the start. Again, if you like this, go check out his video. He does awesome work over there, a fellow YouTuber. But if you're here, you want tips, tricks, and builds focused on the family or improving family and quality life. And so come join me and let's build something together. The first thing you're going to want to do is measure and cut your stock down to the sizes that you want it. Now I am terrible at this, absolutely terrible, and often have to do this multiple times, but I'm learning that the adage measure twice, cut once is actually very good advice. Take your time, make sure you're marking on the right side of the line, make sure you're cutting on the right side of the line, and by doing this it will minimize the amount of work you have to do later. It'll minimize the wasted lumber and things of that nature. Now my table saw is a borrowed table saw. It is a Ryobi, and I'll be honest, it is terrible. The fence is not necessarily always straight, but you can use it if you do what I'm doing here, which is measure it at several points along the path. Every time, and I mean every time you use it, it needs to be adjusted, it needs to be checked, and that's what you see me doing here to make sure it is straight, and it'll do just fine for now until I can get something a little bit nicer. And so after checking it, I had to bump it, so I'm checking it again. Then I can rip these boards to their desired length and also put a 45-degree edge on them so that I can marry them up here in just a second. So now I'm going to rip my boards. I'm going to rip them to length. And again, for full details of this, go check out Matthew Peach. His video goes in great detail. He explains everything in really a wonderful way that's easy to follow. And so that's exactly what I'm doing here. I'm just ripping my boards, trying to be super safe, trying to take my time, keeping my hands away. Safety is so important. You know, if you're just starting out, I cannot impress upon you enough the importance of safety, keeping those hands away. And I know here that could have been a little bit further away from that blade. But I am learning. I'm trying to take this really seriously, because as another YouTube woodworker has said recently, they don't grow back. And so if I could impart any piece of wisdom on you, and something I'm trying to do a better job of myself, is to take that serious, especially with these power tools. Respect them, and they will treat you well. Just like here, you see me, I got the mask. I actually did a video about this. You ought to check that one out on my air filtration system. I gave myself a sinus infection by working downstairs in my basement without proper ventilation over and over again over the course of about 2 weeks, and then I was perpetually sick for about 3 weeks until I was able to get some medicine and then realize the need for air ventilation and proper circulation of air. And so just take these things seriously, and you will be just fine. And so here I'm cleaning everything up, making sure it's how I want it. I'm getting my cuts just right, and then we will go to the glue up. At this point, we're going to glue it and put some brad nails in it. I've sped this up for you here, but just make sure you are liberally applying that glue. Make sure that you're getting it all over the place. Now, I did see a video recently where some guys are not so fond of the glue squeeze out. They actually say that's a sign of wasted glue if you're having to do that. But for me anyway, making sure I have that glue on there helps me know that I've got it liberal enough that it is going to be coated well, because this really is where the strength of the hold is. The nails really are just kind of keeping it in place until that glue dries. The strength of this project is going to be in the glue itself. This doesn't have to be perfect at this point. You can probably get it a lot nicer than I have it. I had some pretty rough edges to work through as far as my seams. But the good news, because of this distressing that we're going to be doing, in the end it's all going to come out just fine with a little bit of work, and you'll be fine. Now, clamps, put all the clamps on it, more the merrier, and then you will be in good shape. Now, in hindsight, I should have done this when I did the other boards, but I'm going to work on the end caps, 45ing those here. I need 2 of them. I'm putting a 45 on 3 of the edges to make sure that I am in good shape there. I'm really fighting this table saw to get it to work and cooperate for me, but I'm trying my best to be very slow, be very patient here, to respect what's going on. You can see my makeshift push sticks and push block there. I'm trying to keep my hands far away from that blade and also get a good cut. Now, what's interesting, I did this exact same project before, but I did it with a skill saw. At the point, I didn't have the miter and I didn't have the table saw, and I did it with a skill saw. My cuts actually came out neater with the skill saw than they did with these pieces of equipment. Now, part of that, I was a lot slower. I was having to build fences and really take my time there, but you know, it all works out, and the more you practice, it's what it's all about, is getting in there, taking that time, doing that practice over and over and over again, so that you end up with something that is worthwhile. Now that you've got your ends cut, just nail them and glue them on like you did everything else. You'll notice that that's sticking up a little bit proud. I'll go back later with a Japanese pole saw or hand saw and fix that. Here we're going to go in and take some putty, some wood putty. I forget which brand I'm using at this point. It's the stuff, it looks pink and it will dry like wood. And I'm just liberally applying this to those cracks. I start by using that nice scraper there, and it just kind of annoyed me, so I started using my fingers. But you just want to make sure that you don't have any gaps. I'm looking all the way around it, all the way through it, to make sure that it's all nice and sealed up. You can be a bit proud on this stuff. You can apply it a little over what you need, because you're going to come back later and sand it down and clean it up, and it'll end up looking just fine. And so I'm really caking it on here. And again, you can see I did something wrong with my measurement there on that end piece, but I'll square it up. You really want to make sure that back is flush. It'll mess up your mounting system if you don't. And so now we just let it dry. I think the container says about a couple of hours, and then from there we get to do the fun stuff. And so here is where we get to do the fun parts. I have got, I believe, what they call a flap grinder right now, and I am just beating up this piece of beam, really trying to just put some dents and some divots. I'm making this wood not perfect, because it's not supposed to be perfect. It is supposed to resemble a wooden beam. It's supposed to have that look about it. You don't want this thing precise. You don't want it neat and clean. After that, and this is something that Matthew Peach does, you can see my helpers come to check out what's going on. He takes an axe to make this look like it's hewn by hand. And then from there, he does what I think is the coolest thing, is takes his drill and takes this wire wheel and just really starts to eat away at the soft wood in this pine. And what you get when it's all said and done is this really beautiful, distressed looking wood. Looks like it's been out in the elements. It looks like barn wood. Just one piece of advice, I highly encourage you on this. This kicks up a lot of dust. You want to do this outside. You want to do this with a mask on. You want to make sure you're in a well-ventilated area, because I don't know if you can see it clearly or not in the video, especially at this speed, but it is kicking up all kinds of dust. You can also see there that I had to do a battery swap. At this point, it eats your drill battery up really badly, and so you want to make sure that you have a backup on hand, or use a higher amp hour battery than I am. And from there, we just get all the sides, make sure you really eat at it, and then you'll like the finished product when you're done. And the last thing that I like to do before I go in, like I said, this kicks up some kind of dust. You can see I'm just using a brush. I don't even know what kind of brush this is. It's something I found in the house. You can also see at this point I'm coated in dust. But I'm really trying to get that softwood out, get the dust off to improve the quality of my stain and my finish. Just get it in there. Really try to get all that out. And this is a great part. You know, I started this channel to improve my home, to improve my time with my family, and just build some fun things with them. This is a great part if you want kids involved. They will love this. My two sons, they were out playing, but they love helping me. Cleaning things up at this point is something good, is safe for them to do. Then we're going to take it back inside after we do that, and we're going to apply a stain. This is a Varathane stain. I'm using espresso blend, an espresso wood stain. It's really dark. Make sure you mix it up well, and then I liberally coat it. Now it does look black here, but it will come out brown. If you want something lighter, I think that would be just fine. In fact, if I hadn't done the first shelf in this, I probably would have done something lighter like a walnut, but you know, you have to make them match when they're going in the same room. And I'm really just being liberal here. I'm not that worried. This is a temporary workbench. I do have a build plan on an outfeed table, and then hopefully soon I'm going to have a plan on a workbench. I did get some plans from Rex Kruger on his portable workbench. I'm really excited to start that. And so I'm not worried, but if you need to be careful, just be careful. Throw some paper down or something. This stuff does wipe up okay, but you just want to liberally coat it everywhere. Get it in there, let it soak for a minute, and then come back. This, I could not tell you how important this is. Come back after you do that and then wipe off the excess. This stuff takes forever to dry. If you don't do what I'm doing now, you will regret it, as I did with the first shelf. I didn't wipe the excess off, and for one of the coats it was like 2 days to dry before I was able to get in and start doing the poly. And the poly that I use as a wipe-on, it takes 3 applications and at least 12 hours to do it. And so you want to get out of this step and into the poly as quick as you can. But when you're all done, you just need to let it dry. I let it dry overnight and come back the next morning, and then you can start applying your finish of choice. Again, I'm using a Watco brand poly at this point. It's a wipe-on. You can really see how nice that stain took to the wood. It is that beautiful brown, just like I wanted it. I'm stirring the poly up. Now, another tip when you're applying poly, make sure you're wearing gloves. This stuff is sticky as all get out. It will get everywhere. It will make an absolute mess. It is a pain to get off your hands. It is a pain to get off your equipment, off your table. And so the gloves make a big difference here. And so you see me wearing them because I learned my lesson. Like I said, this brand, it calls for 3 coats over the course of about 4 hours each, and then 24 hours after the last coat, you are able to use your piece. And so we're putting it on here, and then at this point, we're just going to let it sit, and then next time you see it, it will be the finished project. And there she is, all done, distressed. It has got that beautiful finish on it. It's stained, it's sealed, and it will be a great addition to my boys' rooms. They love it. They love that kind of barn style look. I appreciate you for sticking around. Please consider liking and subscribing. Check out this video that's coming up next, and as always, let's build something together.